John Wood from Gelion joins us now. Hello, John. How are you?
Alistair, I'm doing just fine. Thank you.
Great to be talking with you. Now, you're involved in the battery space. We'll get to precisely how in a minute, but tell us a little bit about the space that you're in. Actually, batteries. What are they, and why is it a meaningful sector to be involved in?
Well, mate, a battery is a way of storing energy for when you need it. So, in particular, what we're doing now is we're moving from a world that used fossil fuels, which basically are stored energy that you burn when you need them, when you need the energy. We're starting to use renewable generation, and so renewable generation from things like solar power or wind is generating energy when the energy is available, when the sun's shining, when the wind's blowing. Now we want to take that energy and we want to make it available when you want to use it. And the instrument that we're using to do that is a battery. So we take electricity that's made from the sun or from wind energy or waves, nice clean energy. It's in the form of electrons, and we store those in batteries. So we move electrons in one direction, and then when we want to use that energy, we move them back the other way. That's the principle there. But as we go through the energy transition for sustainability and clean energy, we need an enormous amount of batteries. We need 240 terawatt hours is the estimate. It's a staggering amount of stored energy, and so what we need is safe, powerful, high energy batteries to meet that demand.
So we've had batteries in the in Western and Eastern and in global technology and in our culture for decades, really. So why is it that batteries have come to the fore as an interesting technological area of development, both in terms of the R&D and in terms of the investment interest? Why has that happened over the last decade or so, given that we have already a great familiarity with Duracell batteries and batteries in our ICE cars, although electric vehicle batteries are obviously newer. But we all know batteries from our childhood and playing with toys. What's new in batteries that makes it worth another look?
Well, we demand a lot of our batteries now. Straight up, mate, fossil fuels, petrol, it's very highly energy dense. So we need batteries that can store more energy. We go to a petrol station, we put in petrol, we fill up the tank really quick. All right, we're going to start using electric vehicles. We want to be able to charge those electric vehicles more quickly. The weight of the car is important. So as you look at electric vehicles, the tire wear is higher than in a fuel vehicle today. So we want lighter batteries. We need batteries that are lighter. And then that's even without getting into the supply chain of batteries. And, at the moment, there's geographic dependencies around the supply chain. We need lots and lots of batteries. Countries want to be independent in the supply of their batteries. So when you look at it, there are many, many, many demands on battery technology today. And all of those demands come down to the technology and the materials that we use in the batteries to be able to meet the needs of this future. We want battery, the future world, the world of the energy transition, to be even more convenient to consumers, to be even better than the world before we stepped into that need.
So better, smaller, more efficient, more powerful.
Absolutely, all of the above, and a whole bunch more. You want them to work when it's really cold. You want them to work when it's really hot. You want them to have a really long calendar life. There are many, many things that have to be met by batteries. You must be excellent at certain aspects, and you must be very, very good at them all.
So, what are the challenges in terms of battery technology? I mean, we talked about some of the issues, weight and power and so forth. But in terms of moving this technology forward, what are the challenges that have been facing the industry in which, or the battery industry, and that are currently being addressed and which need to be addressed in the future?
Yeah, mate, it's a brilliant industry, Alistair, and as you said, it has been around for a really really long time. Strange thing about the battery industry is that you just tend to have more and improved batteries. The lead acid industry you mentioned, 130 years old industry now, and they're still growing. Not as fast as the lithium industry, but still a growing industry today. You still have a lot of lead acid batteries. So when you sort of zoom out and you get at a high level to look at this industry and to understand it, you see underlying it core themes. I guess I'd call them themes, and then you get into the detail underneath it. So, if I was to go to the highest level and look at the battery industry, for 100 years, what we call conversion batteries were the technology, the go-to technology. So what a conversion technology means is that, the battery has an anode and a cathode, and it has an electrolyte in between. Electrons go in one direction, ions go in the other. And in a conversion battery, there's a chemical reaction in each of the plates, and there's a conversion of state. And that's your lead acid, those sort of products. And 100 years, that was the dominant technology. And then along came a few brilliant people that started what is called intercalation. And so it's an intercalation, which is the method that's used in lithium-ion cells today. So in an intercalation cell, basically, I'm going to try and put my hands up here and not get it's going to not work that well, but you have layers on the anode and layers on the cathode, and the individual ions cross across, and they park in those layers, sort of like cars in a parking garage, in between the layers. And that's a very efficient and stable way of storing electrons. And that approach is used in the lithium-ion cells that we have today. So whether it's a lithium ferrous phosphate cell or lithium nickel manganese cobalt, it's that intercalation method that was really the breakthrough to make those long-lasting, high-performance batteries. Now, there are themes. We're working now in Gelion on sulfur cathodes, and sulfur cathodes are a form of conversion cathode, albeit we're doing some really remarkable work, and we can get on and talk about that a little bit later on. So they're primary themes. And then you have improvements going on by the industry inside those themes. For example, high silicon anode work. People using silicon in the anode of the battery makes a more powerful anode. So you can match up now a more powerful anode with a more powerful cathode. You get a higher power, higher energy options there. Or you can actually replace lithium with sodium. And so people are looking at sodium-ion cells instead of lithium-ion cells. Of course, sodium is a much lower price commodity than lithium. And there are certain advantages and disadvantages to sodium and lithium. So at the base level, you've got sort of that conversion, intercalation. Then you've got your materials being added to change the performance of the cell, and then you can dip down to really, really granular at that point in time. How do you make the silicon? Do you make the silicon using the silane gas path, or do you make the silicon from a metallic silicon? All of these are fine-grained inside the themes there, but they make a huge difference. They make a difference if you can get the energy up by 20%. That means the car is going to drive 20% further if it's an electric vehicle. If you can get the weight down, you don't only improve the range, but now you're wearing out the brakes less, you're wearing out the tires less, you're able to, you're wearing the bearings less. Everything about an electric vehicle becomes cheaper if you get the weight down in the cells. And so you can understand that, as we go forward, as we got robots, robots being powered by batteries, drones fly further if you can make your batteries lighter. The battery becomes fundamental to the experience that the user is getting out of their car, in their house, from the robots in the future, in their life generally.
So you mentioned sort of different types of battery there in terms of the constituent elements that are used, and also some of the uses. Like there are batteries in electric vehicles, but also people are increasingly using batteries in their homes on a large scale as sort of backup storage mechanisms. And uh, would you say that generally speaking, different types of batteries are used in electric vehicles from the ones that are used in home energy storage to the types of batteries that are used perhaps even on larger storage scales but non-mobile, as it were?
Most of those batteries today, if you start your car, you're using a lead acid battery. If you're using a data center, if you're protecting a data center, or you're doing mobile motive, forklifts and things like that, there's a lot of lead acid used in those markets. But if you're doing home energy storage, or you're driving an electric vehicle, typically that's a lithium-ion cell that you're using there today. Now, when you're using the lithium-ion cells, it might be lithium ferrous phosphate, which is the workhorse. So lithium ferrous phosphate is becoming quite dominant in things like energy storage, home energy storage, particularly. You can go high end to really high performance cells, lithium titanate, or if you want performance, if you want high power, typically people will be going towards things like lithium, manganese, nickel, and cobalt. So there are different flavors. The different flavors lead to cost at the end of the day. So your lithium, manganese, nickel, cobalt is a more expensive battery than lithium ferrous phosphate. Lithium titanate is more expensive than both of them. So depending on what you're doing, you will use the chemistry that fits. That's where sodium ion is starting to come in. What a great technology! It's lower cost, has historically been lower performance, but there are companies out there today that are really making quite advanced sodium ion cells as well.
So what are the highest cost items in the types of batteries that we're talking about?
Well, it's the purity of the materials is a challenge, of course, when you're using these cells. If you look at lithium, a move to sodium, typically sodium just as a material, because you've got your material costs and you've got your cost of manufacture, you've got your cost of the whole supply chain. But just looking at it in a material context, I believe the correct estimate is about 35x, meaning it's 35 times cheaper if you're able to use sodium than to use lithium on the anode side. Now, you've still got to make a cell, and the material is only part of the cost of the cell and part of the cost of the application that you're working with. And sodium is typically a lower voltage than lithium. Typically, the cell is a low voltage. And of course, we have amps in batteries, amps meaning essentially the number of electrons that move across. And then we have voltage, and voltage is the amount of energy in each electron. So actually, if you drop your voltage, it means you need more amps to have the same number of watts. So a trap to watch out for is if you use an anode that has less voltage, then you actually need more cathode material. And typically in batteries, it's the cathode material that is more expensive than the anode material. This is a particular area that Gelion is working on, because the lowest cost option that I know on the cathode and fundamentally, much cheaper is to use sulfur on the cathode rather than using the traditional battery materials. It's a very abundant, very, very low cost material.
So when you say traditional battery materials, just then, which materials would those be?
So a sulfur cathode is a tiny fraction of performance of, for example, a nickel, manganese, cobalt cathode material. tiny fraction. And you can pair sulfur to lithium to make a high performance cell. It is a lot lighter than a traditional lithium ion cell. So, I guess people consider that in a lithium sulfur cell at 400 watt hours per kilogram is the yardstick, where you might be looking at 160 through to 240 as the typical yardstick for lithium ion. So a very light cell, which becomes really important. And where you work with a sodium sulfur cell, a room temperature sodium sulfur cell, then you can get a path to a very low cost cell with the huge abundance of sodium and sulfur. I mean, sodium is on your dining table today. You get sodium from sodium salts, and sulfur is abundant and available pretty well everywhere around the world. When you look at battery materials today, and you look at batteries, we have, I think, and I'm sorry if this number is wrong, but I believe it to be about 93 to 95% of the batteries that are made in the world today are made in 3 countries, basically: China, Japan, and South Korea. And then when you look underneath it, by far the dominant manufacturing country in that is China. And it's because they make the batteries really well. They have great production technology. They have great control over the battery materials. And so, they make batteries. If I was to make a battery in China at a Chinese factory today, that factory is actually able to turn out the cell at a much lower cost than we can in Europe or the US or other markets. That supply chain is not going to change a whole lot. They've put a lot of investment into that work. By utilizing different materials and abundant materials, it can actually open up the supply chain, and that's one of the aims that we're doing. I think China's obviously doing a good job in making batteries that are used in renewable energy. They make a lot of solar panels as well, so you can't put that down. But on the other hand, it would be great if everywhere in the world those panels are being made and those batteries are being made. And one of the things to do that is to utilize materials that are readily available in China, but also readily available in Europe, readily available in the US, and readily available in Latin America, and readily available in India and everywhere else that we want to make these batteries. And that's one of the things that we're particularly working on.
So, I mean, you guys with your sulfur battery, it seems like a very interesting development. Would you describe that as an emerging technology, or is it sort of up and running? Where do we sit with this sulfur battery technology?
Very much, I consider it to be an emerging technology. So I talked earlier about themes and how there are themes inside the industry. So if I'm looking at those themes, I believe the next theme will be high silicon anode starting to proliferate a lot through the industry. You'll hear a lot of talk about solid state. So that you have liquid electrolytes in batteries, and you have solid state in batteries. And so you'll see solid state coming along as well. And you'll see sodium ion coming along. The next theme, I believe, following along that will be the introduction of sulfur on the cathode. And that's sulfur through lithium sulfur, and that's sulfur through room temperature sodium sulfur. Now, I would say that for some time, the industry has been anticipating that happening. The fact that it's the lightest, you can actually make a lithium air battery. I'm not going to go there. It's a whole different direction. But if you're thinking about solid anode and cathode materials, it's the lightest practical cell, or more energy density for weight, and that makes it a really important cell. So a lot of people look at it for that reason. So it's always been strong on weight, it's been strong on abundance, and it's been strong on cost. Done right, it's also a very safe battery. But sulfur cells have always been, or historically have been, quite limited in terms of power and limited in terms of cycle life. And earlier on, as we were talking, you've actually got to be really good at everything about a cell. And that's where Gelion has been doing a lot of work ourselves. It's been our vision to unlock the potential of sulfur. So sulfur has only ever been about the technology and getting the technology right. And the company moved with a lot of conviction, and it moved pretty quickly. So when I came in as the CEO, I came in to join our founder, Professor Thomas Maschmeyer, who is an awesome scientist, regarded as one of the top 15 chemists on the planet. Thomas is quite remarkable. And he had and his team had done some work on lithium sulfur that made it possible to use different anodes. I won't go into the technology too deep. It just meant it opened up certain aspects of the market. We moved pretty quick then as Gelion because there was a great UK lithium sulfur developer called Oxis. And Oxis was one of the leaders in the technology, but it hit the rocks in the middle of COVID. It had started to try and build a gigafactory in Brazil for some reason, and really what it should have had its head down was finishing the technology work at that point in time. So we were fortunate enough to be able to buy the Oxis IP from Johnson Matthey, and they gave us more than 200 patents and a whole bunch of technology and understanding about lithium sulfur. We followed that on and acquired a company in the UK called Oxley. Very smart people that had sort of continued on from where Oxis had left off. And we incorporated Oxley into Gelion, and Adrian Amig, who is the founder of Oxley, is now our president for UK and Europe. And then most recently, we put in place a technology collaboration with the Max Planck Institute of Colloids and Interfaces in Potsdam, Germany, one of the most impressive deep tech institutes on the planet, and with a remarkable man there, Professor Marcus Antonietti, who had, with his team, managed to pull off stuff with sulfur that had not been seen before. And so Marcus had rewritten the rules about power that's used with sulfur. He'd rewritten the rules on cycle life, and they'd done that using a process or using an approach that is practical and simple. So it's a process that we're going to be able to scale in fabrication, but the results of that process are that they capture the sulfur in a way that hasn't previously been done, and they protect the sulfur so that only sodium, if we're using sodium, or only lithium, if we're using lithium, can get to it. And the fact that they protect it that way means that it avoids some of the degradation factors. I don't want to go too deep into technology, but avoids the primary degradation factors associated with sulfur. And the result is that we have now the ability to use sulfur cathode material, get high power and high cycle life. It's an emerging technology. So what we're setting about now is harnessing that. And so we put in place a 3-year development collaboration agreement with Max Planck Institute of Colloids and Interfaces. Marcus has joined us as an advisor in what we're doing. And we also were fortunate enough to be awarded a 3-year availability for a grant in Australia for the work program as well. I'm talking personally now. I have experience in the battery industry. I guess I'm putting a bit of reputation on the line here by saying that, to me, I believe it's the most fundamental and important breakthrough that I've seen, certainly in the time that I've been working in the industry. It can change a lot if we can harness sulfur. Basically, now what we aspire to do in Gelion is not to be the best sulfur battery company in the world, but we actually aspire to take room temperature sodium sulfur and make it a competitive product up there against lithium ferrous phosphate, and to make lithium sulfur a high performance product that we can benchmark and try and take up against lithium manganese, nickel, cobalt. Now, I am not specifically saying we are there now. That's why I'm calling it out as an emerging technology. There is always risks in battery technology, but there is opportunity as well. The way I look at it, the opportunity in this case is enormous. So there are two things that we're setting about. I like to call it the Rubik's Cube test. So if you're making a battery, you can't just be good at one thing. So you can't just be good at power, or you can't just be good at cycle life. You've actually got to deliver the whole Rubik's Cube. And those who have done Rubik's Cubes know that we tend to jump up and down when we solve one face on a Rubik's Cube. But if you're going to solve the whole cube, you have to solve all of the faces. And to solve all of the faces, you've got to mess up that particular face that you have solved. So we have our team working on all aspects of the technology. And so as well as the power, as well as the cycle life, this particular technology has very good behavior on cold temperature and hot temperature as well. But we have to work through the process. The batteries today are very, very good. Lithium ferrous phosphate is a great battery technology. That's a pretty high benchmark to be able to try to take that on and beat it. But on the other side, the compelling nature of an abundant material, a material that, if you want to, India is investing enormously to put in place their own battery independence and battery capabilities at the moment. They're always going to be at a disadvantage on lithium ion. They can certainly try to match the automation that's in China today. But hang on, what about if we're actually making a technology where the materials are readily available and low cost in India? And certainly lithium and sulfur and sodium and sulfur are materials in that class. So the upside of Gelion is I think enormous if we are successful in what we're trying to do. But we have work to do, and I have a phenomenal team. I've got a brilliant team, and what the company is trying to do is not to be all things to everyone. So we don't want to sort of go out and put billions of dollars into a gigafactory to take on what are some excellent companies out there that are doing a great job and really know what to do with it. Instead of that, we're looking at trying to optimize our sulfur cathode materials and optimize the way that the cell works, and then to work with the best in the industry to work through the program of bringing on this new technology. Now, as we do that, as we succeed, we become very visible to the companies that control the application areas. So we're visible already to companies that would be looking at, making drones fly further. And then we increase our visibility to the people who are making the electric vehicles, and we increase our visibility to the ESS. So my job now is to continue to resource my team as they follow through to deliver not just the full Rubik's Cube, but to be delivering something that's extraordinary, as well as delivering the Rubik's Cube on the technology side, and then to integrate what we're doing into the global supply chain. And that just means shoe leather or getting out there and working in the supply chain and meeting with the leaders.
So just to be clear, what will the actual product be, or products of Gelion?
So actual products of Gelion will be materials, and will be licensing of the technologies that we utilize with those materials, so that manufacturers can utilize the materials to make cells. So we will, in some cases, toll manufacture even the materials, but we'd like to provide the materials to the manufacturers with the wherewithal, because it's not just providing the material, but you've got to know how to apply that material. You've actually got to match it up with the cathode material with the anode and with the electrolyte in between, so that you get an end experience. That end experience is the battery cell. So we take responsibility for the quality of the battery cells. But when you're making those cells today, it's not just the cathode, and we are working in the cathode and we are working on the anode as well. But I'll keep it simple a moment, just talk about the material in the cathode, because when we're working with that technology, we pair it up with other technologies. So there's a whole lot more in a cell than just the cathode technology, just the cathode and the electrolyte. And so all of those other aspects, people talk about solid state. People invest billions of dollars in solid state development. And we are in Nottingham doing some work on understanding the interfaces on solid state and prototyping with solid state with what we're doing with our cathode material. But we see it as the responsibility of our partner manufacturers to be experts in the area of, say, lithium metal anodes or solid state technologies. So it's a partnership between us and our channel partners, because batteries at the end of the day use a lot of technology. There is a lot of technology in making a superior battery. So as the CEO of Gelion, my focus is on ensuring the maximum deployment of our technology as we go forward, and then bringing back the best margin I can for our shareholders in trying to do that. See the path toward doing that as being collaborating with the world's best manufacturers and being very, very good at the parts that we contribute. In order to be excellent, we're working with the best researchers. I mentioned Professor Thomas Maschmeyer, who is the founder of Gelion, quite an incredible scientist. Marcus Antonietti, Max Planck Institute of Colloids and Interfaces. Extraordinary. He's the third most cited scientist. I believe he's to be the third most cited scientist on the planet. And number 4 chemist, I think, is what he's rated at. I don't know how these ratings work, but and it doesn't really matter that much, except that they're both extraordinary gentlemen that see and understand things at levels that are important when you're trying to do work of this stature. So the science that Gelion is doing is certainly worthy of partnership with the best in the industry. And so we want to be expert in the things that we're doing around sulfur, and we want to work with the best in the industry. And hopefully, because it is an emerging technology, it will take time, but hopefully as an emerging technology, we emerge as the leader, the leader or a leader in sulfur materials used in batteries, even as the industry goes through that transition and starts to utilize sulfur in abundance.
So presumably you take in raw materials to some facility. I assume you have a processing facility somewhere, and then you work your magic and create the products which you were just talking about just now, and ship them on to the next link in the chain. And is it bulky or quite small?
Okay, at this point in time, to be specific, so the activities we're doing are about resolving the technology and then resolving the fabrication of the materials. And so the 3-year program that I said we'd just been offered and awarded by the Australian government is actually intended for us to be able to work through the process of completing the cell technologies to the point where we are confident to lean into the scaling of the fabrication and to develop the fabrication methods for the materials as well. When we complete that work, if you look forward then to when the battery technology would start to scale and when materials were being shipped out there in high quantities, yes, they will be bulky materials. But one of the good things about the approach that we're taking towards cells that we intend to be manufactured around the world is that sodium and sulfur are available in the markets. And so it makes a lot of sense that the supply chain will be distributed when you start to work with these technologies. So that's our goal. It's a vision that's achievable. We're setting about it, I think, in a very effective and efficient manner, but it is an ambitious and some would say audacious goal to think that we can, change the way batteries are utilized around the world. It's, however, a very worthy goal and a very lucrative goal, pulled off the right way. And the company is progressing systematically and very effectively against that objective.
So I'd just like to tie up a loose end at this point. You talked about cycle life a little earlier. Tell us what that really means in terms of the batteries that do exist and the batteries that you are trying to bring into being. What the differential and you talk about cycle life in some of your press releases, I noticed. So it obviously does have some meaningful significance.
Oh, absolutely. So in all of the aspects of the technology, there is important performance. If you're going to do an electric vehicle, for example, you need to have more than 1,000 cycles. So roughly 1,000 cycles is the benchmark for an electric vehicle. If you're going to do a home energy storage system, you probably want to be doing 5 to 10,000 cycles. So cycle life is application specific. Also, you need to look at the depth of the cycle. So are you cycling 100%? If you're using a drone, you don't only need cycles, but you need power. So on taking off and on landing, you go up at more than 3C. I'm sorry, I'm using a technical term there, but a 1C battery will charge in an hour and discharge in an hour. A 2C will do it in half an hour. A C on 2 or a 0.5C will take 2 hours. So if you're making a battery that you're going to use in a drone, then you've got to be able to at least go up to 3C or charge and discharge in 20 minutes. And that's just because you use a lot of power when you're taking off and when you're landing. And then in between, you sort of cruise and you don't need as much power anymore. But you see that as I went through that, I gave you some cycle life examples. For a drone, you might be happy to have it at a battery that's capable of 3C, but you only want, say, 500 cycles. If you want an electric vehicle, you want like 1,000 cycles. If you're doing a ESS, you might want 5,000 to 10,000 cycles. Every application that we do with batteries, you'll find has a full set of applications. That's my Rubik's Cube analogy. And you must meet that full set. So you must meet the power, you must meet the energy, you must meet the cycle life, you must meet the temperature. And then you must be extraordinary. So you must do something really, really well. And in the case of sulfur, what does it do really, really well? It does energy density, gravimetric energy density really, really well. It's abundant. It's low cost. It can be made safe. There's a whole bunch of extraordinary features around it. So that if we can build the technology out to have its metrics of performance, then we benchmark up against the other battery technologies. I'll go right back to where I started from, though, which is you're not going to see displacement completely of lithium ion or lead acid or anything like that. As battery technologies come along, as an industry generally, what you find is it's additive. So that the applications that we're best at are the ones that will adopt the technology first, and then you start to scale from there. We need so many batteries around the planet at the moment. We need all of these types of differing performance so that we can really deliver a great experience in the energy transition.
Right. Before we leave this topic, could we just have a quick definition of a cycle?
A cycle is one discharge and one charge. So
right.
I'm going to discharge the battery. I'm going to take energy out of it. I'm going to charge it. I'm going to put energy back in. I tend to consider cycles as being full full energy equivalent. So usually when I talk about cycles, I'm looking at, if I'm doing 50% cycles, it's half of really half of a full energy equivalent. So you really need to be able to do full energy charge and discharge.
So when you talk about a battery having the capability of 500 cycles, does that mean it sort of loses its potency after 500 charges and discharges? Is that what you're talking about?
Typically, the industry benchmark is that it would retain 80% of its original capacity by the time it's had its 500 cycle. So that's the typical benchmark. So it'll be called out as capacity, the retained capacity after the number of cycles that's used in the cycle life.
Right, because I mean, I've had my mobile phone for about 8 or 9 years, so it's a pretty old one, but it still seems to, charge up reasonably well. It's not, it doesn't sort of run out of power in, uh, half an hour or anything. So obviously, you've got a reasonably decent battery there in the first place.
Alistair, you must be using your phone more gently than I do. But yeah, understood. As we started the conversation, mate, the benchmark today is really good. Batteries today are very, very good. It's just we need a whole lot more from them as we go forward as well.
Yeah, which is what you guys are doing, as we've been talking about in this conversation. So let's just talk about Gelion a little bit as it is set up. Now you've just raised some money, as I understand it. What's the story there? Why did you do that, and what are you going to do with it?
So what we just put in place, as I mentioned earlier, we've put in place this 3-year collaboration with Max Planck Institute around this new technology that we're working on there, adding on top. So it all fits together. If you look at it, the platform we've been building came from Professor Marshmeyer. We added the Oxus technology, we added the Oxlid technology, and then we put in place the Max Planck technology. So the first thing that we're doing there is we're going to be building that out. We are also at the same time building an integration business inside of Gelion. So an integration business takes existing cells and delivers products to customers for ESS. So we'll be building that business as well. There's a synergy between what we're doing in our sulfur industry, in our sulfur batteries, and what we're doing in integration. I like to do integration because it means that I'm keeping my team in touch with the customer. You don't want to just go and do battery development in a laboratory. You want to make sure that you're actually in touch all the way through. And so I like to keep my team in touch with the full supply chain, all the way through the battery manufacturers, through the applications, the people who are using the batteries, all the way through to the end users. So we have an integration business that we're developing inside Gelion as well, and that's delivering us revenue now. So there are two halves to our business. The sulfur battery business is all about building value, lots of value for our shareholders. It's an audacious, ambitious effort to become a leading battery technology company for the planet. And we want to have our role and secure our role by doing the best research and development and to be able to scale those materials as we progress. The other side that we're doing work on is actually providing revenue and margin now, and that's providing these integration services. So in the integration service, we buy batteries from leading battery manufacturers. There's a bit of a synergy there, which is because of the importance of the work that Gelion is doing in sulfur, we have access to leaders in the battery industry. So I'm talking to you from Singapore today, but in the course of the trip that I'm currently on, I've been through Japan, China, India, up to the UK, Germany. Now I'm here in Singapore. In the course of that trip, what I'm doing is meeting both with technology leaders and with commercial leaders within the battery industry. So the fact that Gelion has access to those leaders inside the industry because of the importance of our research, we see that also as a way to access leading technologies and to have a competitive supply of existing products as well. And so we have a business unit that's doing that. So that's the second thing that we're applying some of these funds for. The first half, the sulfur. The second half is to build the integration. That business is about revenue and margin early. So what I'm trying to do with the board in the stewardship of our company and the assets is to build value and to build revenue and to build margin as we go forward as well. At the end of the day, I want to get results for my shareholders. So it's shareholders that are giving me the resources at this point in time to deliver that outcome. We will use some for working capital as well, and we'll be using it because we've got technologies that are important. We're going to be letting people know about that. So we're going to be doing development and promotion inside our industry to build our brand and reputation and presence inside the battery industry as well.
So now, obviously, we can't ask you to make any forecasts, but how should investors approach the question of the scale and size of the opportunity that's on offer here in financial terms or otherwise? I mean, how could we envisage success for you guys, and what can you say about that?
So Alistair, we're still at the growth end. So I guess if I'm an investor, and I am, I have a number of investments in the sustainability space, and I have just traditional investments as well. So an investor should always take a portfolio approach and look across their portfolio, and they should have a mix of the sort of investments that everyone is comfortable with for their particular mix. We're growth. We are high opportunity, but we still have risk while we're working through the stage of putting in place the fundamentals and starting to scale and drive revenue from our primary development in our sulfur technologies. So we're in that class. We fit that segment. I think that I'm happy. I think I'm allowed to say I think that Gelion can be one of the most exciting companies in anyone's portfolio. But if you're classifying yourself as something that can be that remarkable, then of course you've got to note that there are other competitors out there in the industry. It's a tight industry, and these are ambitious goals that we've got there. I think that the company is doing a lot of things right, and I do like going and talking to our existing investors. And since I've been the CEO now for just over 2.5 years, something like that, we have some very high quality institutional investors on our register. We also have some high net worths and a lot of retail investors. And so I make a practice of both visiting my institutional investors and also doing the presentations that are open to all of our investors online as well. Now that's a two-way thing. When I'm doing the online presentations, I try to answer every question that's thrown at me that's coming back from the smaller investors. Try it, and so far I'm doing a reasonable job of doing that. And when I'm going out and seeing the institutional investors, I'm listening as well. But I guess what you do from doing that is you build your track record, and people either note that you are consistently delivering on what you said you would, or they note that you're not. And I think that Gelion has had I hope, is being well regarded from the principle now that, we've been going out there and doing what we said we would and delivering on our plan. So that's what we intend to do. We've said that our next stage objectives is we want to put in place a key corporate strategic relationship. That's a prime use of the funds that we've just raised. And one of the reasons we want to do that, Alistair, is frankly, it is probably a hard ask for your average investor to understand the quality of what we've built today. So the best way to convey that to them will be if we can bring in and put in place a highly qualified corporate or strategic partner where they have the people that are able to do the diligence in terms of assessing the quality of our technology. So, there's two aims in our effort to do that. The first one is it's great for the business. It's great for the business model that we're trying to do. And the second one is that, if we bring that home, we bring a lot of credibility to understanding. People don't have to say, wow, I wonder if Gelion's technology is the best in the world. They can look at it and say, well, these guys think it is, and therefore it probably is. And so that's one of our next goals. For what we're doing at the moment, we're quite a modest valuation in our company. If we can actually put in place a corporate strategic partner who validates what we're doing, I think that that'll reflect positively on the company. But yeah, we're in that growth sector. That's we need companies doing what Gelion is doing, and my team is doing a good job of it.
So I think you mentioned this earlier, but perhaps you wouldn't mind repeating. When do you envisage commercialization then?
So commercialization will be progressive, and I'm going to answer the question directly and as completely as I can for you. I said to you that our product is our sulfur cathode materials and the technology licensing. So commercialization of our integration services going on right now, revenue now, margin now. Then come to the value side of our business that I said where we're delivering the battery technology, the sulfur part of our business. So the sulfur part of our business is being targeted at two outcomes. The two outcomes are the high performance lithium sulfur target, and that high performance product is aimed initially at niche markets where it will be important, markets like drones and things like that. We think we can move fairly fast in that area, and fairly fast in the battery industry is really around the 18 months to 3 year time frame. So we can be working on the product technologies to give people evidence that we're delivering value in those technologies. We then see the lithium sulfur technology becoming high-end performance in many markets. So you'll see the progressive progress on that. The super exciting technology from my viewpoint is the sodium sulfur technology that we're working on as well. So both of those technologies are going to progress, and we're going to have announcements going on continuously through the 3-year collaboration process with Max Planck Institute and through the 3-year government program that we're working as well. So I mentioned to you earlier, to get end products, that end product will be an outcome of our own technology work and the technology work that will come from our partner customers or partner manufacturers that we put in place. So there will be a time frame that it will take for our products to be incorporated into their products and for us to bring products to market together. Now, in terms of value to Gelion, you'll see the first part of the reflection of that value come from the recognition by the manufacturers of the importance of what we're doing, and they're the collaborations that we're seeking to put in place at the moment. The second part of the inflection starts to happen with the end customers and the recognition by the end customers of the importance of the technology as well. So in a long way, what I've tried to answer for you is that you'll see a whole lot of progressive achievements throughout the course of the 3 years of the collaboration process. But certainly it's in the course of that period of time that I would like to see a lot of product activity and starting to scale around fabrication of materials as we progress through that process.
So finally, John, as we draw to a close in this conversation, I'm just wondering if, from a consumer perspective, whether consumers will really notice any sort of a step change when this sulfur technology comes on stream, or whether they'll sort of absorb it as a kind of incremental improving battery situation as as time goes by, batteries just slowly get better? Is there going to be any sort of signpost that that sulfur is here, and that we can really wake up and take notice?
I think that we like to think of it that way, Alistair. So, to me, it's going to be really exciting that sulfur is here. To the electric car makers, it's going to be really exciting. They can use sulfur because, hopefully we end up with lots lighter batteries in cars, and lots lighter batteries in cars means they can bring the price of their cars down. It makes the electric vehicles a whole lot more competitive. To the people who are doing electricity supply and integrating renewables into the markets, it should be exciting. Sulfur is here because now I can have larger, bigger batteries, and I can do more of it. But to the end consumer, at the end of the day, they're just going to have better batteries, and it's going to be a progression in the battery industry. It has potential to have a huge geopolitical impact. It
Yeah.
will.
So
In this time of tariffs, we're talking about going from taking a technology that is quite geographically controlled at the moment, and actually providing paths where that may become a distributed outcome. So sulfur, it's a lot of assumptions in there around it attaining the position, but sulfur has the potential to really change the geographic dynamics around the battery industry.
So finally, John, tell us what sort of news flow from Gelion we can expect in the coming months.
So most of our news flow leading up to here has been around the technical collaborations and around the technical performance. What we're aiming to deliver is more what I would call commercial endorsement activities. So what we're really aiming to do, Alistair, is to step up to that challenge of, it's pretty hard to judge a technology company today. There's a lot of technology companies out there that make all sorts of claims. How do I know that you guys really are the important ones? And so my objective is that the news that I'm seeking to deliver for my shareholders is news around the fact that, there are third parties that are validating the importance of their company. Now, that's the work that I'm setting about doing. I'm setting about it with vigor, and I'm doing that with my team with vigor. Very proud of the leadership team of Gelion. I get tremendous support from my board of directors. Steve Mann, our chairman, is very active in helping me to find my way as I try to get these collaboration partnerships in. Graham Cooley's just joined us as a director. He's very active in helping me suss that out as well. Thomas Maschmeyer, our founder, he's the reason I got to Marcus Antonietti at the end of the day as well. So Thomas is always in there. Michael Davey and Joycelyn Morton are always in supporting on, particularly in the financials and the people considerations. And my CFO, Amit Gupta, is an executive director as well. On the front line with me in doing this. And then, as I go through my leadership team back in Sydney and in the UK, everybody is focused. We know what we are set about to deliver. And we get about it. I obviously can't say I'm going to get this on that date, but we've come out and said what our objectives are.
John Wood, thanks very much for joining us.
Thank you so much, Alistair.